What's going on, everybody? This is your main man, Big Brother Tucker. There has been a lot of things going on here in my city, the wonderful city of Dallas, of the great state of Texas. What I am going to talk about is nothing too positive, but it is a issue that's happening nationwide, and that is youths killing youths. And since I am a black man, I am referring to it in the black community. Last week, there was a incident where two men were arguing. A third man was literally caught in between them, and he ended up being shot. Then this week, there was a young man who was killed by another young man at a high school in Arlington, and it seemed to be rather foolish to me. Now, we don't have all the details in behind the Arlington High School shooting, but we do have the details for the most part on the one that happened in a parking lot in the Redbird area of Dallas. And I'm willing to bet, since this all involved young teenage men, that it was all in behind, to be blunt. Now, my overarching topic here is going to be about the emotional immaturity in young black men today, or the stunted maturity of young black men today. It is very sad to see how this generation of young men solves their issues. Now, there are a lot of angles I want to take on this. One of them being, why is such a drastic reaction needed for such a simple action? I give you the example of the shooting that happened in Redbird parking lot. The shooter was caught, and the story goes that there were two men arguing. The young man that ended up dead literally happened to be caught between the two men arguing. It happened in a convenience store parking lot. And the man who started shooting first said the reason he started shooting was because he felt disrespected. So when he shot the guy that disrespected him, the guy who did the quote unquote disrespecting fired back and killed the young teenage boy. Odds are looking like it's not completely, the investigation isn't completed yet, but it simply looks like that he was caught in between the two, possibly trying to calm everything down. That's what it looks like right now. It's still a little early. What is absolutely appalling to me is that is what disrespect gets you. You haven't even started your life. Y'all are late teens, early 20s at the most. Now, the young man that was killed in this was 19. The two men that were arguing were 20 and 23. None of these people are above the age of 25. They have no idea what life is. In my 20s, I was just a knucklehead who thought I knew everything, like most of us are. But this is a problem. Black folks want to talk about systemic racism holding you back. What about systemic black men immaturity? What about that? That is a true problem. You have men under 25 killing each other, outright killing each other. I mean, the man who started the shooting at the parking lot in the Redbird area convenience store, he said, and I quote, "Nobody talked to me that way. He ain't my daddy." So because you feel somebody talked to you that way, that's grounds for you to start shooting? That is a level of immaturity. Dare I say, when he made the statement, "He ain't my daddy," boy, did you even know who your daddy was? Or how much of an influence was your daddy in your behavior? Because as a father myself, I teach my kids to not initiate confrontation, but if it comes, be prepared to defend. You felt that a man disrespected you enough to just start shooting. You shot a 19-year-old kid in the head. No, not that guy. But the end result being a 19-year-old kid getting shot in the head because you shot at a dude who you felt disrespected you. That dude's shooting back and he gets hit in the head. Before he's able to legally buy alcohol, his life's over. A mother now has to bury a child that you brought into this world because you felt disrespected. Where is the maturity? And not only that, but during this little exchange of gunfire, a bullet hit a kid in an apartment complex nearby. A 12-year-old boy sitting on the couch of an apartment complex nearby was shot because you felt disrespected. That is talking about the mental maturity. You felt so disrespected that you endangered the lives of everyone else because you felt disrespected. Because right now it's a one-sided story. We haven't heard from the other shooter, the one who actually seemed to have accidentally shot the 19-year-old boy in the head and killed him. We haven't heard his side of the story. But the guy who initiated the gunfight, that was what he said. I felt disrespected. He can't talk to me like that. He ain't my daddy. Well, son, either you failed your father or your father failed you, because that is foolish. That is selfish and that is stupid. Even looking at the situation with the high school shooter in Arlington, the police also captured that shooter. And when I say children, as it pertains to the Arlington high school shooter, the boy was 15 years old. He shot a 16-year-old kid. They haven't released the reason why. But was it that serious? Your life is over and it hasn't even begun because you have been charged with capital murder. They have charged a 15-year-old boy with capital murder. Again, I ask, where is the mental maturity? See, my head goes all over the place with this because I understand that even with a parent's best efforts, that child is still an individual. They will go the way at the end of the day that they choose to go. I know of several children that have a solid foundation and still ended up crooked. When I was coming up, and I was brought up by a single mother, I had a couple of good, strong male role models in my time coming up. And even coming up, I went astray. I went the lifestyle that was glamorized and popularized to me through, I guess, through music, entertainment. But at the end of the day, the music and entertainment was just an excuse I used to do what I wanted to do. I had to bump my head a few times, but the foundation that was laid kept me from being lost out there. I found my way like a prodigal son back home and got my together. That's why I asked the question early on, where are the fathers in these things? Because these are young men doing these heinous and just very disruptive, evil things. You are not old enough to vote yet, young man, and you've taken the life of someone else. Hell, at 15, you're not even old enough to get a driver's license yet, and your life is already over. The other young man, 20 years old, because you felt disrespected. Now, excuse me while I hit one of those back in my day rants, but here it is. Back in my day, when I was 15, 16, gang banging had just made its way to Dallas. It really did. About 16, 17. And even then, kids were very hesitant to pull that trigger. I mean, I guess I can mention this since it is in a police report somewhere, that when I was coming up, I had a gun pulled on me by a young kid, my age anyway. I had a gun pulled on me. Nobody was around. The kid could actually shot me. But see, back then it was more about flashing it. You wasn't going to do nothing. They still would rather scrap with you. They'd rather put them hands on you because I guess back then we had more of a reverence for life. We still understood what it took and the ramifications it would take to take another life. These kids ain't like that. These kids have no regard. And I ask, where is the maturity? Where is the man in your life? Where's the male role model? Whether it's your father or not, but where is the male role model that teaches you how to handle things as a man? Because what I gather from this, is that all these actions are emotional. I guess that's the best way for me to sum it up. The emotional maturity, the stunted growth emotionally and mature-wise These kids are acting emotionally. There was no one there to tell them, hey man, be a man, man up. Because the world has made masculinity toxic. You don't think this is a byproduct of that bullshit? Open your eyes. We were told if you had a problem with a man, you go address that man in his face. And if it came down to scrapping, it was a scrap. It was a fight. Both men walked away. But this, you alter your entire life because you felt disrespected. And I am willing to bet that 15-year-old shooter in Arlington is going to have something just as stupid, just as senseless, because we men are not teaching the youth. We are not helping them mature. The men that they listen to are entertainers. They listen to cats like Yo Gotti, The Baby, Little Yachty, and all these cats talking about is shooting this and shooting that. That's who's raising these kids now. Rappers I grew up with would tell you about the consequences of doing this kind of shit. People like UGK, Spice One, Scarface would tell you what your actions will bring. They would tell you about, oh, the downside of blowing somebody away. Welcome to the penitentiary. These cats don't rap about that. And these are the cats that are raising these kids today. Being a teenager is already difficult. But being a teenager with zero guidance, it's almost an impossible thing to survive. And society does not make it any better. Society tells us that being a man, passing masculinity on, is toxic. That it's okay to get emotional. That it's okay, express your emotions. Well, this is what happens when teenage men who are immature and emotionally unstable express themselves. This is it. I mean, that dude said he can't talk to me that way. He sounded like my daddy. I'll put some money on the fact that that boy probably got told something by the other dude that his daddy should have told him. He probably got told no. He might have got told pull your pants up. He might have got told, say, man, you can't do that. We don't need all that loud noise. It could have been anything to make him feel disrespected, because that's all he said. He didn't say exactly what the guy said. He just said, I felt disrespected. He can't talk to me that way. And what did he say? I'm curious to know, what did he say? Because I'm willing to bet that what he said probably was not that disrespectful, but he ain't used to hearing it. Things like, no, don't do this. And let's go to the other side of the spectrum. Even if it was super disrespectful, let's say it was disrespectful on an average level. Let's say he talked bad about him and called him a stinky little boy or some shit like that. Is it worth you taking a life? Is it worth you being charged with murder? Is it worth that 12-year-old boy getting shot while just sitting on his own damn couch? Words made you do that? Nah. What we need to do, black people, is quit worrying about this phantom racism, to lie of all this systemic racism, and let's tackle real issues. Teaching men how to be men. Getting men to a level of maturity and self-value and self-worth where they will not take self-destruction actions like this. That's what it's really about. That's what really needs to happen. Because right now, these men are lost. They're lost in a world where being a man is frowned upon and living by the acts of your emotions is encouraged. And you see where that gets us. Pray for our youth, y'all. Pray for our youth. Wait. Stop right there. That was a sample. You want the whole entree? Follow us on our podcast, Free Mind Thinkers. You can find us where you pick up any and all your favorite podcasts. That includes Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Until next time, y'all take care of yourselves and always dare to think differently.